This is Passengers United.
Good evening, everyone. This is Passengers United here, and we have breaking news about Grand Central Madison. This is a letter I obtained from the U.S. Department of Transportation, Federal Railroad Administration, that was sent to Kathy Rinaldi, the president of the Long Island Railroad, about a waiver for the Grand Central Madison East Side Access opening. Guys, I'm going to read you this letter. So basically, it says, Dear Kathy Rinaldi, this letter is in response to the October 14, 2022 request from Long Island Railroad, LIRR, to the Federal Railroad Administration, FRA, for a temporary waiver of compliance from certain provisions of the Federal Railroad Safety Regulations contained in Title 49, Code of Federal Regulations, CFR, Part 236, Rules, Standards, and Instructions governing the installation, inspection, maintenance, and repair of signal and train control systems, devices, and appliances relating to positive train control systems. Specifically, LIRR requests relief from 49 CFR S 236.1005 bracket C1 because the hazard detectors incorporated into its existing cab signaling and automatic train control ATC systems will not be integrated into its positive train control PTC system before LIRR commencement of its service to Manhattan's East Side and the opening of its Grand Central Madison Terminal expanded service. This expanded service includes train movements through the Grand Central Madison Tunnel, GCM tunnel, which is not designed for certain oversized rolling stock. FRA assigned the request docket number FRA 2022 0092. In its petition, LIRR explains that the existing system of hazard detection that protects against the misrouting of oversized trains is built into the railroad's cab signaling and ATC systems. Exhibit A to LIRR petition describes the existing hazard detection features of those systems and LIRR's existing operating practices designed to protect against the misrouting of oversized trains. LIRR also explains that it is working towards the integration of hazard detection functionality into ACES 2 that will automatically protect against the misrouting of oversized trains into the GCM tunnel by enforcing a positive stop prior to the tunnel entrance. Example, tunnel collision avoidance, TCA functionality. However, LIRR notes that the deployment of the necessary software will not be completed until March 6, 2023, after LIRR's planned expanded service start date. Accordingly, LIRR requests relief from 49 CFR 236.1005 C1's requirement that TCA technology be integrated into its PTC system ACES 2 until the technology can be fully deployed. In the time prior to the full software deployment and implementation, LIRR proposes to rely on its existing system of hazard detection within its cab signaling and ATC systems. LIRR's petition includes a schedule for the testing and deployment of the TCA technology, which indicates that factory testing is complete, and per the schedule, field testing should be complete, and LIRR's System Safety Control Board has reviewed the technology and its planned implementation. Further, LIRR has filed the required request for amendment RFA of its PTC safety plan with FRA. LIRR's schedule indicates that deployment of the necessary software will not be completed until March 6, 2023. Accordingly, granting the relief LIRR request would enable LIRR to initiate its planned expanded service while LIRR completes the necessary software deployment. On October 21st, 2022, FRA published public notice of LIR's request in this docket, and subsequently on November 7, 2022, FRA held a question and answer session to address any technical questions related to LIRR's request from interested parties. FRA received two comments in response. One commenter, Mr. Ron Ariel, asserted that delaying the commencement of passenger service to Grand Central Madison is unnecessary, as LIRR has a robust existing set of safeguards that make inadvertent entry onto the approach ramps to the GCM tunnel very unlikely, and a collision with the tunnel portals even more unlikely. Further, Mr. Ariel asserted that it would be in the public interest for FRA to grant LIRR's petition and allow the commencement of LIRR's expanded service without delay. However, guys, this is where it gets interesting. The Brotherhood of Railroad Signalmen, BRS, filed comments noting that the organization believes the LIRR cab signal ATC system for hazard protection of misrouting oversized trains is sufficient in providing train safety for the GCM tunnel. Now here we go. However, the Brotherhood of Railroad Signalmen, BRS, urges FRA to deny the petition because LIRR's existing system of hazard protection through its cab signal and ATC system will not protect against an oversized Amtrak train being misrouted towards the GCM tunnel entrance. BRS also expresses concern about Amtrak's stated intent not to implement TCA functionality into the ACES 2 onboard computer software. BRS acknowledges that an Amtrak train approaching the GCM tunnel will lose power as it comes out from under its catenary lines, but BRS expresses concern that a train in the interlocking without power will cause a logistical nightmare, clogging up an interlocker that 341 trains transverse daily. Additionally, BRS expresses concern about the weeks of troubleshooting that often occur after a cutover and recommends that LIRR be required to comply with 49 CFR 236.1005C before initiating its planned expanded service. FRA's Railroad Safety Board reviewed the petition, both docket comments, the results of FRA's field investigation, and the findings of its technical staff. Generally, the board shares BRS's concern about the practicalities of implementing this technology while revenue service is underway. The board believes, however, that these concerns can be alleviated through comprehensive pre-revenue service testing. In accordance with 49 USC 20170, LIRR must prepare and submit to FRA a pre-revenue service safety validation plan. A pre-revenue service safety validation plan must include, among other requirements, pertinent safety milestones and a minimum period of simulated revenue service to ensure operational readiness and that all safety-sensitive personnel are properly trained and qualified. FRA has been working with LIRR on the development and implementation of LIRR's pre-revenue service safety validation plan, and FRA will continue this engagement through the simulated revenue service period required before LIRR's expanded service may commence revenue operation. Further, FRA will continue to emphasize the importance of LIRR's configuration management and software version control processes and procedures required under 49 CFR Part 236, both of which are central to safety and critical to minimizing errors during cutovers and service changes. The board also shares BRS's concern about LIRR's existing hazard detection system not protecting Amtrak trains operating in the Harold interlocking from being misrouted to the GCM tunnel. FRA notes, however, that if an Amtrak train operating with oversized rolling stock is routed towards the GCM tunnel, a series of redundant protections exist to prevent that train from entering the tunnel. First, if a route into the tunnel is incorrectly lined so that an Amtrak train with oversized rolling stock is lined for movement into the tunnel, the train's PTC system will enforce a positive stop at either signal 11W or 65W. To proceed past either of these stop signals, the train engineer would have to obtain dispatcher's permission to bypass the PTC enforcement and would be held to a PTC enforced 15 miles per hour speed limit. Second, as the train approaches the signals and diverging switch that controls the tunnel entry track, the train crew will see routing arrows on the mast of the relevant interlocking signals, up to 3 signals in advance, which will illuminate white when a route is lined from any of the tracks to the GCM tunnel. The arrows will not illuminate if the track is not lined for the tunnel entrance. This will provide Amtrak train crews the opportunity to stop their train as required by Amtrak special instructions. Third, in the event an oversized train passes the 11W or 65W signals because of human error or a failure of the PTC system, and the train crew does not notice arrows and take appropriate action if they are operating an oversized train, LIRR's cab signaling and ATC systems will protect the Amtrak train, as it would any oversized LIRR train, through the 250HZ cab signal code, which will provide an audible alarm and enforced restricted speed. Given the above, the board determined that granting LIRR's request is in the public interest and consistent with railroad safety. The board determined, however, that considering the work that LIRR has already completed towards commissioning the necessary software providing relief only until February 15th, 2023 is justified. Accordingly, the board grants LIRR relief from 49 CFR SC 236.1005C as requested in its petition, subject to the following conditions. 1. LIRR must develop and submit to the FRA a schedule for the completion of the PTC software installation that includes the TCE functionality with the completion date on or before February 15, 2023. The schedule must prioritize installation of all oversized LIRR rolling stock. For example, all equipment that will not fit into the GCM tunnel, including the 45DE DM locomotives, 23 cab cars, and 17E15 work engines. 2. Weekly, on Friday, LIRR must prepare and submit electronically to the FRA PTC specialist, Larry Warren, and to the public docket on www.regulations.gov a status report detailing the progress in the installation and testing of the PTC software for each type of rolling stock in its fleet. The report must include any reasons for deviations or delays to the submitted schedule and action plans to address any delays. The following designations and operational limitations must be enforced through operating bulletins or special instructions. A. All trains consisting of equipment prohibited from entering the tunnels be designated by a special train symbol in the timetable, informing the train dispatchers and operating crews that the train is not to enter the tunnels. Both LIRR and Amtrak are responsible for implementing this train designation. B. No freight operations will be allowed within the Harrold interlocking during the time period this waiver is in place. C. All westbound trains move through Harrold interlocking must be limited to 45 miles per hour until the prioritized equipment identified in condition number 1 above has received the software. D. Through a special bulletin order, dispatchers will be required to hold Amtrak trains at either signal 11 West or 65 West, not at the 22 West or 55 West signals. I'm saying West, it's actually W, guys, I'm sorry. This is to ensure that if an Amtrak train must be stopped while transversing the Harrold interlocking, PTC will enforce a stop if the Amtrak train is inadvertently lined into the tunnel. 4. All LIRR and Amtrak employees and contractors responsible for train movements must be provided training on all operating rules, bulletins, and special instructions used to prevent oversized trains from entering the tunnels. LIRR will provide, and this is number 5, LIRR will provide FRA a minimum of 5 days notice of the commencement of pre-revenue simulated service and update LIRR's pre-revenue service safety validation plan required under 49 USC S 20170 to reflect this requirement and add the followings to section 2, 3, and 4. A. Additions to sections 2 and 3. Additional paragraph emphasizing the importance of configuration management and software version control post-completion of infrastructure and system elements. Upon completion and functional sign-off of FRA regulated infrastructure and system elements, LIRR Engineering and Transportation will maintain a configuration of the expanded service in accordance with configuration management and software version control processes and procedures developed and performed in accordance with FRA regulations. B. Addition to Section 4. Additional objective of simulated service. Test and evaluate the effectiveness of designations and operational limitations that must be enforced through operating bulletins or special instructions. C. Addition to Section 4. Additional pass-fail criteria. If any misroutes occur at Harrold interlocking, including any misroute of an oversized train into the tunnel approach, the period of simulated service must be deemed failed. The cause identified, mitigating measures immediately put into place, updates to rules, bulletins, special instructions, and/or training completed, and the simulated service period must be repeated. FRA will be notified and informed of any misroutes and the resulting analysis and actions. 6. LIRR will immediately notify FRA of any misroutes that occur at Harrold interlocking for the period of relief, the cause identified, mitigating measures immediately put into place, and updates to rules, bulletins, special instructions, and/or training completed. With reference to Amtrak stated concurrence with LIRR's waiver petition and stated intent to not implement the TC functionality in its ACES 2 onboard computer software, the board finds that it is premature to conclude that the projections described in the waiver provide sufficient protection for Amtrak's operations in the long term. FRA notes that although Amtrak trains have a positive stop enforced at signals 11W and 65W, these signals are not the concerning signals for the tunnel entry tracks. Therefore, further analysis of the protections described in the petition is required to validate the statements made in Exhibit C of LIRR's waiver petition. FRA reminds LIRR that once all equipment is updated and tested, this waiver is no longer in effect. LIR's Positive Train Control Safety Plan PTCSP RFA provisions will take precedence, and any TCA failures must be captured in LIRR's quarterly PTC reports or FRA SC 236.1023 regulatory compliance reporting. The board does not anticipate extending this waiver as applied to LIRR's rolling stock. This waiver expires on February 15, 2023. LIRR must have its PTCSP RFA approved and fully implemented no later than this date. FRA reserves the right to modify or rescind this waiver upon receipt of information pertaining to the safety of railroad operations or in the event of noncompliance with any condition of this waiver. Further, FRA reserves the right to take enforcement action under 49 USC 20111 for noncompliance of any condition of this letter or applicable federal regulations. If any future correspondence regarding this waiver, and that's it, guys. Okay, so I think you get the gist of this letter. So yeah, guys, the railroad is screwed up, and all of us at Passengers United will be calling for Eastside Access to be opened up in March. They might as well just open up this thing in March of, the week when the clocks change, spring forward. I say that's the best way to do it, because if the Brotherhood of Railroad Signalmen is having issues, and they're saying it's not safe, and the train engineers are saying it's not safe, and even the Amtrak's unions come out and said it's not safe, then, we support them. We support the train engineers. We support the Brotherhood of Signalmen, because they know what they're doing, guys. People sitting in an office, like the MT chairman and the governor and all these elected officials, they have no...
Thanks for watching. To stay up to date with Passengers United, please subscribe and follow us on social media.